Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Secretary for Finance and the Economy, Joel Jack, addresses the media.
As we begin today, Monday was Budget Day, Monday the 2nd, and I want to start off by commending the Minister of Finance on his third budget presentation and on delivering a sterling budget presentation. It was a well-crafted document, and I think, the nation is, we have heard several responses thus far, but by and large, the minister should be commended. I think it was a well-scripted document, well-written, and what the minister has done in detail is outline this country's plans in terms of returning this country on a path to growth, and I think all sectors of the economy will be impacted positively by what the minister had to say. I think more importantly, in the Tobago House of Assembly, we are currently reviewing the numbers, and just to remind persons as to the allocation to the Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2018, on the recurrence side, the Assembly received $1,860,000,000. That is $1,868 for recurrent expenditure, and $315.6 million for development program expenditure, $18 million for URP, and $8 million for CPEP. As it relates to the recurrent expenditure, you might recall last year the Assembly received just over $2 billion, $2.045 billion. So the year-on-year change as it relates to recurrent expenditure is approximately $185 million, or 9% reduction in the allocation to the Tobago House of Assembly. As it relates to development program expenditure, last year the Assembly received $288.6 million, an increase of $27 million, or 9.4%. As it relates to the unemployment relief program, that program, the allocation last year was $20 million. This year it's 18, a reduction of $2 million, or just or 10%. Overall, the allocation to the Tobago House of Assembly was reduced by 6.8% year-on-year, and a reduction of $160 million. Now, and the total allocation to the Assembly it was 4.34% of the national allocation, well above the minimum stipulated by the DRC. Over the past 2 years, we would have received 4.4% of the national budget. I just want to indicate that some of the priority areas as outlined in the budget would include provisions for the tourism sector, expansion for incentives and facilities to expand room stock on the island, enhanced tourism marketing, improvements to airlift, and provisions for the Tobago Tourism Authority. With respect to the agricultural sector, the minister would have outlined additional incentives to attract persons to get into agriculture. Additionally, funding was also provided for the revitalization of this program, as well as the expansion of the Agricultural Access Road program here in Tobago. As it relates to one of our key areas of focus over the next during our next term. Economic diversification, the minister would have outlined a number of programs to encourage persons to get into business, incentives for the SME sector, and this mirrors what we are doing here in Tobago as it relates to our loan and grant funding program. We have been investing significant sums of monies over the years to develop an entrepreneurial class on the island. And we're also seeing some programs on the national end, and that mirrors this as well. As it relates to our housing program, we've seen nationally an incentive program that has been launched, and to allow for the private sector and developers to really partner with the public sector in treating with some of the housing shortfall. I must say one of the exciting news coming out of the budget is with respect to the Assembly's authority to borrow. This is something that, as Secretary of Finance since 2013, I have been championing in terms of having the Assembly to engage in alternative financing mechanisms, PPPs, borrowing via bond, and engaging in a number of modern structured financial transactions to really advance Tobago's development. The minister supported that and gave his whole heart, his commitment to work with the Assembly to achieve this. You might recall on a previous occasion I would have mentioned that we have been doing some homework with our bankers, and that I undertook a soft roadshow nationally just to get the feedback from the financial service providers and to gauge the appetite for ahead of our intention for the Assembly to approach the market to fund a number of our development program activities. I must say that their response at the time and continues to be positive, and we're looking forward in the not too distant future when we will come back and report to the public on our plans moving forward. I'm also heartened by the news by the minister of a number of projects totaling over $1.09 billion in terms of funding allocated to ministries to undertake a number of projects here in Tobago. We will see, for example, ongoing construction work on the Old Grange and Roxborough police stations, the construction of a fire services regional headquarters at Roxborough, the construction of a desal plant at Cove, construction of new water wells that would treat with the water shortfall that we have experienced during the dry season, and as well as the expansion of TNTEC's power generating capacity here in Tobago. Additionally, the minister outlined, also mentioned as it relates to Tobago, the fact that the bill to give greater autonomy and greater devolution of powers to the Tobago House of Assembly is currently before Cabinet. I would also treat with that will also be dealt with in the next year. So in a nutshell, I want to as well thank the minister for that. Just to mention additionally, funding was also provided in the sum of $5 million to the Ministry of Sport to treat with the upgrade of the Dwight York Stadium. So that is something as well that was provisioned for in the budget. So just to review, coming out of the budget, I think we saw a reduction in allocation, and the budget must be placed in context in light of the prevailing national economic circumstances. Given the fact that the government has to treat with reduced revenues as a result of the precipitous fall in oil prices and a decline in gas prices, but more so a decline in gas production nationally. I think with the incentives and the focus on engaging the private sector to play their part, and the government being the enabler to provide the environment, I think a lot of persons in the business community, while there might have been some concerns with the increase in corporate tax, I think the budget really would have instilled a sense of confidence in the national community. And I think given the circumstances, we in Tobago, we will play our part in shouldering the sacrifice and as well as contributing to national economic development. I continue to make the point that any investment in Tobago is really an investment, especially as it relates to our capital development program and giving us our support to engage in modern financial transactions and alternative financing mechanisms, is really an opportunity for us to increase our contribution to national economic development. So we continue to work and we continue to play our part. As it relates to the budget, the Assembly, we will be engaged in a 2-day planning exercise on Thursday, on Friday and Saturday of this week. As you are aware, we have been looking at various scenarios in light of the prevailing economic situations, and given the fact that of the allocation given to the Assembly for this financial year, we will be prioritizing our major projects, looking at areas whereby we can reduce expenditure on the recurrent side, as we have done previously and has been the practice, to suppress recurrent expenditure and to treat with the shortfall on the development program side. We'll continue that exercise. You might ask, why is that necessary? Well, you might recall that whereas we in the past would have received approximately 70% of our requests on the recurrent side, on the DP side we receive annually between 15 and 20% of what we ask for on the development program side. So we have to treat with that again in terms of funding a number of DP projects. So we will engage in a planning exercise on Friday and Saturday. And then following that, we will report to the House, I believe in November, and report as we continue reporting to the people and what persons would have termed, quote unquote, our second budget. We will come and report to the people and outline our plans and programs moving forward for fiscal 2018. I would now like to turn my attention just to highlight an event that took place during the 26th and 27th of September. That is the Tobago Information, the Tobago ICT Summit 2017. This inaugural summit was held in collaboration between the Division of Finance and the Tobago Information Technology Limited. The objective of the summit was to enhance Tobago's ability to effectively leverage the use of ICT for socioeconomic development. This flagship event signified the prominence with which we view ICT in the delivery of sustainability for Tobago. ICT has the potential to enable an environment that would strengthen our public institutions, as well as develop our facilities, infrastructure, and networks. ICT also plays a significant role in the development. Will also play a significant role in the development of our human capital as we seek to promote ICT literacy throughout communities in Tobago, and ultimately assist in improving the wider Tobago population with the knowledge and skills and how they should employ ICT. The summit offered a platform for some of the leading technical minds in ICT and innovation to engage participants in topical issues surrounding ICT and Tobago's development as a key enabler of economic and social development, whether it is in the area of creation, job creations, or empowerment of workers, or assisting workers in finding employment, or to introduce flexible and innovative ways to encourage employees, or for use in the tourism sector to help develop and advance the industry and to promote Destination Tobago. The importance of ICT was highlighted here on the island during the 2 days, and would assist in us developing a modern society. The ICT Summit provided a key opportunity to capitalize on creating an efficient and intelligent island, learning how to, as well as how to measure the information economy, and for us to develop future strategies for ICT in Tobago. This summit is really a precursor as we anticipate the completion of the Tobago Information Technology Limited's Innovation Center. And this afternoon, I'm also pleased to announce that the construction of the Tobago Information Center is on time and within budget, and is scheduled to be completed later in the month of October. The center is expected to provide training and to be a hub of development and the development and promotion of ICT across the island. It should also be thought of as a nucleus for the creation and advancement of emerging technology in Tobago, providing opportunities to attract young persons and to engage them in formal ICT training. Let me say, to this extent, we will leverage our relationship with stakeholders in the ICT industry to provide ICT training for Tobago students. You might recall in my budget presentation, I alluded to the fact that we will undertake a series of trainer programs to allow Tobagoanians, young and not so young, to be certified in the use of ICT. I wish at this time to thank all the sponsors for their support during the ICT Summit, TSTT and B-Mobile, Huawei Technologies, Ginamco Caribbean Limited, and the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. And I want to thank the Board of Directors, CEO and staff of the Tobago Information Technology Limited, also called 2-on-1, for their diligence, creativity, and hard work in arranging and hosting this summit. Following this summit on September 27th, I was afforded a tour of TSTT's data center at Mausika on Monday, the 2nd of October. And let me say that TSTT's data center is a 3-tier TIA 942 certified center, and will be the model that will be used here in Tobago as TSTT and EDCUT as they construct their data center here at Cove. I'm also pleased to announce that a delegation from the Tobago House of Assembly joined the national delegation to to attend the Caribbean Leadership and Transformation Forum hosted by the Caribbean Development Bank on Monday 18th and Tuesday 19th of September. The theme of the Leadership and Transformation Forum was delivering results, and it was done in recognition of the need regionally first to increase the pace and rate of delivery, implementation, and execution, and to treat with the implementation deficit of a number of projects in the public sector. The forum sought to address this implementation deficit by providing a platform for practitioners to share personal and professional experiences, and also provided insights on how to advance transformation and to improve efficiency and performance in the public sector. Participants were exposed to implementation models that have been tried and tested in the UK, Malaysia, and Canada. We also explored practical tools, techniques, and innovative concepts to enhance performance, improve coordination, and service delivery across the public service. Let me say that you'll be hearing more about this program as the Assembly partners with the Ministry of Planning and the CDB to undertake a pilot. And this participation came about because of our working relationship with the CDB and the UNDP, as well as our close collaboration with the Ministry of Planning. In fiscal 2018, a pilot will be undertaken, and during my next time here at the Post-Executive Council Media Briefing, I would inform persons more about this program as we seek to improve delivery across the public sector. I'm also pleased to announce this afternoon that Finance, the Division of Finance and the Economy, annual Finance Week celebrations will take place during the period of November 13th and will span a 2-week period, but the major activities during the week of November 13th to the 17th will be the Tobago Economic and Business Outlook Conference on November 14th, Tuesday, November 14th, our Youth Forum on Friday, November 17th, and as well as we'll be hosting a financial education seminar on the 15th of November. So the Business Outlook Conference is scheduled for November 14th, and the Youth Forum is scheduled for November 17th.
Concerning the news that the Assembly could borrow money now, if the Assembly borrows money, what idea or what path do you all have towards repaying the monies that will be borrowed in the future?
Provisions for borrowing and repaying any loans, or if we access borrowing, will be taken from our annual subventions. So, for example, if we undertake a bond of any sum, in treating with a bond, you will have semi-annual or annual interest payments, and then at the end of the term of the bond, you will have to repay the sum in full. So borrowings can take any form, but it will be taken from our subventions, similar to what applies at the moment as we service our payment for the Millshove building.
The initiatives that were announced by the Finance Secretary to the agriculture, creative industries, and I think it's the business sector with the $100,000 grants. Will those be implemented in Tobago as well, seeing that the Assembly has direct control over those areas?
Yeah, well, it's a national program, and we will access some of the grants currently. We currently access their national incentive programs, and farmers in Tobago usually access them. So it is not solely a Trinidad-based program. Okay,
and do you know how soon? You will have to wait for word from Trinidad to know how soon these programs are available to be accessible by the.
Well, once the budget is passed, once that budget has been approved both in the lower and upper houses, and it will be formalized, we will be making the necessary applications to have some of those programs implemented here in Tobago.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jack.
Good afternoon.
Could you give us an idea of what projects you would be seeking the loan for? If you could just give us an idea.
Well, I don't want to be premature in our assessments. As I indicated earlier, we'll be meeting on Friday and Saturday to map out our priority projects. But what I can tell you is that as we continue to manage the finances of the island in a prudent manner, we will not be borrowing to fund recurrent expenditure. It will be primarily for capital expenditure. And the facility to borrow will be part of the Assembly's structured financial program in terms of looking at alternative funding mechanisms treated with a suite of projects. Some projects will utilize the PPP modality. Another, we may use bond financing. Another, we might use structured approach. So I wouldn't want to preempt and to list out to give you a list of projects, and then come on Friday and Saturday, we decide that we will move in another manner. So, but just to answer your question directly, we'll be engaging in projects primarily for capital expenditure, and additionally, any project that we will be funding via borrowings or loan or bond facility, we will, of course, undertake the necessary business case analysis to ensure that that we do all the due diligence before we engage in borrowing. So although this announcement comes with a lot of excitement for me personally, I do so with a great sense of responsibility, knowing the implications and the ramifications for the Tobago House of Assembly. So it's a work in progress, and we continue. I could also inform members of the media that currently before the Assembly, the Executive Council, we are reviewing a Tobago infrastructure, or Tobago infrastructure investment strategy, and as well as we currently have consultants who are engaged in and tasked with completing the Assembly's public-private partnership policy document. So I anticipate that by coming at the end of December, we will have that policy document submitted. And also I want to thank the Inter-American Development Bank for their support in assisting us in this regard. And as it relates to the Tobago infrastructure investment strategy, what that will do is employ a structured approach for infrastructure development for Tobago over the next 20 years, broken up in 4-year period. So our development will be planned and structured, and that would allow for developers, the private sectors, financiers, and for persons interested to understand our investment focus over the next couple of years. So we are working and we are doing our homework as we have done in the past, especially as it relates to borrowing. You might recall that the Assembly, independently on its own, we got our own rating independent of the sovereign, and we continue to meet with Moody's and have a rating review annually. And so it's a work in progress. So while I'm excited, my excitement is muted because of we still have a long way to go before we actually access any of the funding.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending October 7th, 2017.